Hi everybody, good morning. Welcome to our first how-to series Facebook Live video. I am Amanda Patterson and I am the owner of Caring Therapists of Broward, and we decided to do a 2-month-long series. So every Monday in the month of July and August we will have speakers come on and talk about different issues and different topics all related to mental health. And so today I'm actually going to be our first presenter and our first talker and our first speaker. So again, my name is Amanda Patterson. I am a licensed mental health professional. I am here in one of my offices in Pembroke Pines, Florida. That's where we're located. And I'm actually an expert in managing depression and anxiety. That is what I specialize in helping my clients. And I wanted to talk about something that I'm personally experiencing, and I know that a lot of other people are experiencing too. And so a lot of the times I don't share a lot of personal information about myself as a therapist. That's one of the things they teach us in graduate school. However, when one Thursday afternoon I left my office and I had no ring on my finger, and then when I came back to the office on Monday and I had a ring on my finger, I think most of my clients knew that I had gotten engaged, right? And so it wasn't really something that I could hide or would not share. People knew that it happened. They could see it. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that happen when you get engaged and some of the feelings that you feel and some ways to manage it. And so if you're like most people who have either gotten engaged or want to get engaged, what happens is that there's a lot of anxiety that occurs prior to getting engaged, right? And you think that it's never going to happen. You're wondering when it may happen. If you're dating, you're wondering what's taking your spouse so long to do it. And so there's a lot of thoughts that go on before you get engaged. And I think that's pretty normal for a lot of women to feel that way, right? We wonder if we're not dating, am I going to start dating? Is it going to happen? So there's a lot of pressure on women to get engaged and get married. And I obviously felt that pressure myself. And what I didn't realize was going to happen was that there was going to be a lot of pressure and anxiety once you got engaged, right? And so I think for a lot of people, getting engaged seems to be like the thing that you're working towards. But what I have slowly learned is that that is not the case. What you're working towards is planning a wedding, which can be very stressful. I'm in a couple of wedding groups on Facebook, and I know that this is true for a lot of people. Things that start to happen is that you start to hear from old friends that you haven't heard from for a while. They're like, hey, am I going to be invited to your wedding? Awkward. Your parents start giving a lot of opinions, or your mother-in-law starts to give a lot of opinions, or your sisters, or your friends, or extended family members. Everybody starts to have a lot of opinions about your wedding. You can even start to have nightmares. That is very common for those brides out there to have nightmares. You are going to have nightmares that people aren't going to show up to your wedding, or that somebody's going to make a disaster, or something terrible is going to happen. Those are very common, something that I see a lot amongst people who are planning weddings. And so there is a lot of anxiety that goes along with both planning the wedding and getting married. You're making a commitment to somebody for the rest of your life, and you're going to probably spend a lot of money in doing that in the process, right? And so I've got a couple of tips for those of you who are planning weddings on how you can manage some of those anxieties. I probably have no tips for you on how to manage anxiety around budgeting. I watched this really funny video the other day. It was like, hey, my budget is $1,000, and it's like, yeah, forget that. Your budget is going to absolutely not going to be that. It's probably going to double or triple, or you're going to start going and talking to your vendors, and they're going to quote you astronomical prices, and that's just a part of, I think, planning a wedding. I think there's 3 kinds of brides out there. I've talked about this before, sort of those DIY, do-it-yourself brides who want something more simple, and I think those brides can figure out ways to do that. It might bring on stress and having to maybe make your own flowers, organize some of the food, organize some of those other things, but it would probably be cost effective. There's sort of those middle of the road brides. I call those the target brides, brides who want really nice things, but also don't want to pay a lot, or are going for more economical but really nice types of venues or types of vendors. And then you've got the brides out there who have no budget. They can spend as much as they want, and I think there comes a lot of family pressures and a lot of family stress, especially if you have family members paying for your wedding. And so I think there's lots of different brides out there. I have found that through my Facebook groups that I'm in, that there are all different kinds of people dealing with all different types of things. So I'm going to go through my 5 strategies and steps that I have used in order to manage my own anxiety around planning a wedding. As you see, I'm chuckling because there's just a natural level of anxiety, I think, that comes along with planning a wedding that really has nothing to do with the person that will marry or what the marriage will look like. There's just some natural things that occur. So I think step 1 is to use your bridal party. When you're picking your bridesmaids and your groomsmen, you really want to pick people that you can rely on both physically and emotionally. You're going to have moments when you're crying, when you're breaking down, when you have stress going on. You really want to pick people to be in your bridal party that you know that you can count on. You need somebody who is going to give you an unbiased opinion about things. You want somebody who's going to be there to pick up your phone calls, to answer your texts. You're going to want somebody to ground you and say, listen, no, you cannot have like 3 ice luges that people can take shots of vodka out of. No, that's not going to happen, right? So you're going to need all kinds of people who are going to be there to tell you like what are going to be very grounding moments for you, very uplifting moments for you, very supportive moments for you. And I think that you should have a balance in your bridal party. You don't want everybody to be the one that's going to hold your hand. You're going to want some people that are going to set boundaries with you. You're going to want somebody who you know is kind of like your ride or die chick that's going to be there with you through everything, your bridal shower, your bachelorette party. Every time you look through a wedding book, they're going to be right there with you. And so definitely utilizing your bridal party for a lot of the stressors, even if they're just there to answer calls or to run interference with your family members. You want to give them a full lowdown on your family members who might cause you stress, how they can do those kinds of things. The second thing I'm going to recommend is to stay organized. I'm going to show you what I use to stay organized in my wedding planning. I love this book. It's the Knot Ultimate Wedding Planner and Organizer. The thing that's amazing about this book is that it basically gives you everything you need in order to plan your wedding. It gives you ideas for color schemes, themes, what questions to ask your vendors. That's something that's really important that you do, is ask your vendors a lot of questions and make sure that they answer all of them in a way that makes you feel comfortable and answers all your questions, because you are signing a legal contract with all of these vendors. And if for some reason you want to change your vendor, you cancel your wedding, you still have to pay your vendors. And that's a big part of a stressor that happens, is that no matter what happens, if you decide on a big wedding with 200 people and halfway through you have already signed the contract with a beautiful country club and your contract is for $40,000. If you decide now you only want to have 100 people and you want to scale down, you still are going to owe money to that vendor. And so you definitely want to be able to stay organized. You want to watch a timeline. The thing that this binder does, and they also have an app, the Knot app. There's also other ones. Wedding Wire is also another very popular app, and I believe they have a book that they'll give you timelines of when things need to happen. Now, one thing I haven't said is you need to stay flexible around your timelines. Like, I was supposed to have already picked out and organized my save the dates. I have not done that yet. That will happen over the next couple of weeks. And so I think that you need to stay organized, but I also think that you have to be flexible in planning and knowing what works for your venue, what works for the type of wedding that you're having. But I think staying organized, having meetings with your bridal party, having meetings with your spouse, even having meetings if you have a wedding planner or with your venue, you want to keep on top of that. I remember when my sister was planning her wedding, she was having wedding meetings almost, I want to say once a week. I might be off on that timing, but she was having wedding meetings on a consistent basis where we all got together. We talked about food, seating, we talked about even what songs were going to be played at the wedding. And so I think that's very helpful to have regular wedding meetings with the people that are involved. And you don't have to invite everybody to those wedding meetings, but you want to be able to, on a consistent basis, kind of regroup, see where you're at. Excel sheets are also awesome. So if you're an Excel sheet kind of person, I would put everything in Excel sheets. The next thing that you want to do is have some relaxation tools at your disposal. And so you need to know what you like to do for relaxation tools, whether it's going to yoga, maybe it's putting cute little Buddhas around everywhere to remind you to zen and to relax. Maybe it's journaling. I'm a big fan and advocate of journaling, meditation, having a lavender essential oils, going and getting massages. This is a time where you should be pampering yourself. It's a time, I know the budget may be tight as you're planning and paying for your wedding, but it's important that you do schedule in some time for relaxation, even if it doesn't have to cost a lot. You can do yoga videos for free on YouTube. Maybe you want to have an exercise regimen, especially with your spouse. I know my partner and we actually have a pretty consistent gym regimen where we do weights and we do cardio, and that's a really good stress reliever. And it's been really nice because a lot of the times on the way back and forth to the gym is a really good time for us to connect. It's about 10 or 15 minutes of uninterrupted time that we can sit down and talk about anything. Sometimes I'll throw some wedding stuff at him. Sometimes we'll just talk about anything. So it's a really nice time to connect. The other thing I would recommend to manage anxiety when planning a wedding is to remember that other people have been there. One of the wedding groups I'm in, it's called The Wedding Connection. It's on Facebook. There are 60,000 people in that group. And so that basically means right around at this very moment, around 60,000 people that I can physically kind of see, I can see their profiles, are planning a wedding at this time. They're going through what I'm going through. They're going through what you're going through. And people have been there. They've had tears. They've had to change venues. Their wedding got rained out. I mean, that is a huge fear for especially those of us in South Florida. It rains every single day. It rains, it rains, it rains. And I know they say it's good luck for it to rain on your wedding day. As a therapist, I'm just going to say that's probably a rationalization, but it rains in South Florida. It's something that brides have to be worried about, especially during certain times of the year. And so these things happen. People have been there before. The acute way people manage rain on wedding days is to have umbrellas ready, right? Vendors don't show up or vendors don't do a good job. I mean, these things are going to happen. And so I think you have to anticipate some level of chaos that occurs. I think, again, going back to staying organized, talking to your vendors, talking to your bridal party, talking to your spouse, having everybody on the same page to reduce the amount of chaos that's going on, have spreadsheets, have Excel sheets going on. All types of things are really important for you to do to minimize the chaos that happens, but I think there's an inherent amount of stuff that happens around wedding planning that you cannot control. And so that's the final thing to remember and to think about, is that everything ultimately works out. I've heard from so many brides, either that I've seen as clients or people that I see in other wedding groups, or even my friends and my family members. Like, I've seen people stress out about, are people going to have a good time? Is the food going to be good? Is my uncle going to get drunk and embarrass me? Like, right? All of people worry about these kinds of things, and everything ultimately works out. Everybody says that it's the best day of their life, that they don't regret anything, that they would do it again if they could. I have heard from some people that they'd probably spend a little less on their wedding and a little more on their honeymoon, but at the end, I think that from what I hear from so many people out there is that it all works out. People come together, your bridal party steps up, your groomsmen step up, your parents step up. The people in your life that are consistent in your life are going to be there. They're going to celebrate your day with you. They're not going to care if you run 15 minutes late. They're not going to care if the chicken is rubbery. Those things happen. We know sometimes going to weddings that these things are going to happen, right? And so it all works out, and it's probably going to be one of the most magical days of your life. I'm hoping for me that is also one of the most magical days for my life. And so for all of you brides out there, I wish you the best of luck in your wedding planning. And if there's ever anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to me on this page. You can send me a private message and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And so for those of you that are watching, we're going to be doing this every Monday. We have different speakers. Our nutritionist, Julie, is going to, from Julie Energy, she's going to be talking about also something related to weddings and how to remain healthy around wedding planning and honeymooning and eating healthy. We're going to have somebody talking about dating after divorce. That's going to be Jersey Garcia. We're going to have Stephanie Savo on here. She's going to be talking about dating and some of the anxiety that goes along with that. And so we're going to have some awesome speakers. We ask you to join us every Monday. And thank you so much for being a part of our first how-to series on Facebook Live. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.